Hi everyone, I'm Fred and you're watching Homo Ludens, the channel on history and board games. This is the second part of a two-part video about Downfall of Empires and Downfall of the Third Reich, which is a couple of games on World War I and World War II that are being released by Spanish publisher Do It Games, and that should be available for a crowdfunding campaign at the moment I'm releasing those videos. This time, we'll take a closer look at Downfall of Empires with the designer, Victor Catala, that is joining me for Teach and Play. So that's pretty cool. So we thanks Victor for that. And the idea of this Teach and Play is that Victor is going to explain the general concepts of the game. We're going to play a couple of turns on Vassal, and that will give you a bit of a feel for how the system works. You're back, Victor. Thanks again for joining us for a second session on this time specifically Downfall of Empires. So the game on World War I specifically. And yeah, the idea of this Teach and Play is play a couple of turns, and I'm maybe going to show the map so people start seeing what the game is all about. And just we're playing on Vassal right now. And maybe a first question to you, Victor. Will the Vassal module, will it be accessible when the game is released, or how is it going to go?
The Vassal module is already accessible for everybody. Also the rules, everybody can play now to Vassal, and they have the complete rules. I think it's in BBC, the Vassal. The Vassal is in the Vassal module. You have in the Vassal page, you have the Vassal module, and you have the rules in, for example, in Do It, in the Do It page.
But that's really great. That's really generous. So people can actually have a feel for the game, for the games before even backing them. So that's maybe a note for Compass Games. I see it is possible to release Vassal module. So that's a good thing to think about. I think that's really nice from Do It Games to do that. So accessible to everyone if you wanna try the game. That's really cool.
Everybody can play today if they want.
Yeah, exactly. But that's actually great. So we can see that so World War I, we have an overview of all of Europe, and we have two smaller theaters. So we've got the Caucasus, and we've got Syria and Egypt here. So it's covering most of everything that's going to happen during World War I. And I see that everything looks like it's going to be land-based. You don't have any specific mechanics around the Navy, the naval aspect of the war in this game, right?
Yeah, it's right. I thought I wanted a very simple game, and I thought that in the First World War, the naval war was not so important to represent the game.
Yeah. Okay. And I can see that there are 16 turns. So within the context of this game, what does a turn represent? Like, is it a quarter or a specific season? How is it structured?
Yeah, it's a quarter that there are seasons. You have winter, spring, summer, and autumn. It's 3 months every turn, exactly.
Okay, and so that's 16 turn for a full game. And in the interview that we had, and that was
17 turns, no? 17, yeah.
3 fois. Wait a minute. Is it 17 turns? Have it out. Oh yeah. Okay. Now I can see.
18,
yes.
18.
So
you have 18 turns. You have.
You actually have 18 turns, yes. So it's 4 for
16 plus 2. November, yeah, it's 18 turns. Autumn is the last turn. Autumn.
Yeah, I was looking at just a small bit of it. Yeah, and I was wondering, wait a minute, that doesn't add up. That makes sense. Okay, so we start actually in summer of 1914, normal. Then we have fall, and then we go into winter 1915. That makes a lot of sense. So yeah, great. So 18 turns. How long would you say the game lasts overall, like for people who are reasonably experienced with the game? Not you and a playtester, but like you would say someone that played a couple of games that know the system pretty well.
Yeah, if the first game is much more difficult because you have to learn everything. Then first game is not, I think, is not it's not good for comparison. The first or 2 games can last you 5, 6, 7 hours. When you have played 2 or 3 hours and you more or less know the rules, I think the game can be played in 3, 4 hours at maximum.
Okay, so that's really
For experienced games can be played even with less than 3 hours.
okay. So that's a good afternoon or a good evening game. So
Yeah.
a game that can be done. So the whole war in one sitting. Okay, great.
Yeah.
But maybe we can start talking a bit about the system of roles. So as I was saying, maybe you don't necessarily have to go into a lot of details around the game, but just giving an overall understanding of how a turn is structured and what kind of decisions players are going to make, and then we're going to start playing a couple of turns if that makes sense.
Yeah. The game, I think the main mechanism of the game is that every player, you have 4 players, you can be played from 2 to 4 people. Eh? If they play 4 people, when is the player with Germany, the other is Austro-Hungary, the other is French Britain, and the other is the Russians. Then, if you will play two players, of course, one is with the central powers, with the other with Entente, and with 3 players, you can decide if who play two, who side play two, or who side play one. Then the most important thing is the main mechanism is the actions. It's a game played with actions. Germans and allies have 3 actions every turn, and Russians and Austria-Hungary have 2 actions. Then this is very quick to play. You will see now in the first turn. Then what kind of actions you have? Then the actions you have is there are 6 different actions. One is recruitment, the other is activation of armies, the other is research, the entrench, diplomacy, and missions. Missions are only important when you have the technology of planes or of tanks or planes. If you don't have tanks or planes, you can only do 5 things. Repeat: recruitment, activation, research, entrench, and diplomacy. And you will see that only knowing that, and you have to know after that, the most important thing is know how the combat system works. But I think the combat system we will see when we play the turns.
Yeah, I think so. Sounds good. So a limited amount of decisions. So I guess that activations is going to enable you to move armies on the board from one region to another and trigger an attack. Then diplomacy is going to be centered around that track here. So I can see that you have the different minor countries that are going to join the war after the fact. So you've got Italy, Turkey, Bulgaria, Romania, the US, and the potential Russian surrender. And so those are going to be like more political actions that you're going to take, and those are going to help you activate new fronts, right?
You will see with the flag of the diplomacy track is what factions can get that country go with you and the war with you. For example, Italy only can go with the allies. And Turkey only can go with the central powers. No? Then we will see also when we play now, but mainly you will see that the action of diplomacy, what you do is you put two points up in the track the enter of the country. When you arrive at the end, and you arrive at the last point, the country enters to the war, or in the case of Russia surrenders, and then you cannot change that thing. Right? But meanwhile, if you have not arrived at the end, the other side can put the diplomacy down. But when you put up the diplomacy, you get 2 spaces, and you will put back the diplomacy, or you only 1 space. That means that you always can arrive at the end. You only can get the diplomacy, and diplomacy is important because the country goes with you, but also because the victory points you can get with the diplomacy.
And that's the
2 main countries in the war that is the minor countries that Italy and Turkey will see. They have also 1 free reinforcement every time you do the recruitment. You recruit for your side, you have a free reinforcements for that country. That means that it's important for that that countries enter to the war.
Okay, that makes sense. And you were talking about victory points because that's the main way for each of the factions to win the game. And we can see on the top right of the board here, you have a victory point track with one marker for each of the different factions. Can you tell us a bit more about how do you score victory points and what are the victory conditions for each of the factions?
Yeah. The victory points are scored for two things. One is getting in the diplomacy track, you get the countries go with you. Then that means that for each country you get a diplomacy success. For example, if the Italy goes into the war, both players, both factions of that side, that is British, French, British, and Russian, get one victory point. Both are interested in that. Even only the French, British move the Italy armies. Both sides of both factors of that side are interested in that. Both sides of that coalition.
Yeah.
And the most important thing for scoring victory points are the cities. You can see the cities. Then when you get an enemy big city, you get the control enemy city, you have one victory point. If you lose one own victory city, you lose one victory point. But victory points, the very important thing for that game, and I think it's mostly for all games for more than two players, that the victory points is a very special mechanism to get that the work works very well. For example, for that game, all victory points then for cities that Russians get or lose are the same for British, French, British. And the victory points that get or lose or lost the Austria-Hungary are the same for Germany. That means that Germany, for example, are very interested that the Austria-Hungary are successful and works well. That is interesting because then, without any other rule, Germans that are most powerful, has more powerful armies, will pass armies for the Austria-Hungaries.
Yeah, because you have this concede mechanic, so you can actually lend armies as the Germans. You can lend armies to the Austro-Hungarians so they can fight better on the East Front, right?
Yeah, you can lend, but yes, it's very important because that historically was like that. But the way that works very well is with victory points, because the victory points of the Austro-Hungarians are also for Germans. The Germans are very interested in lend that armies to the Austro-Hungaries.
Okay, but it's not the other way around. So the victory points for the Germans are not increasing the ones for the Austro-Hungarians.
No.
Okay.
No.
So that means that when you're playing 4 players, it's not only 2v2, it's actually 2 against 2, but within those 2, they are actually a bit fighting against each other, right?
Yeah, that's right. You're very interested and your coalition wins, but finally you try to have some point more than your ally in the coalition. Yeah.
And that's an interesting dynamic. I guess it must open up to some of the negotiations around the board. Did you see a lot of player negotiation during your playtest?
Yeah. When you play 4 players, there are quite a lot of negotiation about that. No, for example, you cannot lend French British armies to Russians, but when Russia is being very hard attacked by the Central Powers, Russian players also always say to the British French that they have to attack the Germans to take out pressure to the Russians, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. But I think that gives us a broad overview. So we see that you win by having more VP. So that's pretty straightforward. And then you get VPs by either getting allies into the war or by controlling enemy cities, and you lose by losing control of your own cities. So all this makes
Yeah, I recommend another thing. I think the victory points track is better not to move until the end of the game, because you have the victory points at the end of the game. It's not so important if you lose a city or conquest a city if you don't can keep that city until the end of the war.
Yeah. Okay, that makes
Because
sense.
at the end of the war, when you make the count the victory points, it's better not to lose time moving that track during the game.
Okay. But and I guess you can also have a quick check at the end of a year also, like just to see like what's happening on each of the sides, maybe just to give a reminder to everyone where we're at. But I think let's jump in. So we have the setup that is here. What is the first decision that we make as players? Do we have to choose technology tiles to start the game?
Yeah, you will see that to get a technology, you need two actions, two different turns. Then at the beginning of the game, in the setup, you have three technologies with one step. You have got one step of three technologies. Then we have to choose three technologies of each faction and put in the point one of the track of the technology.
Okay, so this is, so as we can see, there are spaces for technology with two steps, so steps 1 and step 2. So you can have technology at level 1 and then in the future turn increase it at step 2. So Germans bottom left, Austrians at the bottom, top Russians, and top left Allied. So I get to secretly choose those, right?
Yes.
Okay, and I have, yeah, I can flip it.
We do that already?
Yeah, I guess. And there are, I can see that some technologies.
Sorry, because I don't know.
Can only. So some technologies can only be activated at specific periods of time.
Yeah. Mainly, the only limitation is tanks. The tanks only can be developed as when you have 4 technology before.
Yeah.
You never can get one defense or attack development. You have not the previous defense or attack development. Yeah.
Okay.
Then I am going to.
And then you've got poison gas that only starts in 1915 also. Yeah.
Yeah, but you can get the development before, but you only can play the poison gas. Yeah, but you can develop at the beginning if you want.
Interesting. Okay. And I can see that the technology tiles have defense 1 and defense 2. Do I have to fully complete defense 1 before I can do defense 2, right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, then. And 3 technologies at start for, and for each of them. So it means that I can also do it for the Russians. So I chose my 3 technologies and Russia is going to be. So just for people watching the stream, we have a separate window, both of us, Victor and I, where we have secretly our technologies and we're placing them on the board.
If you want to keep secret the technologies,
you've got to flip them first. Yeah.
Yeah, you need to put it inside the developments.
Okay, so I've chosen 3 technologies for France and Great Britain, and then 3 technologies for Russia. And I can see that you've already picked 3 for Germany, and you're probably looking at the ones for Austria-Hungary. And those are the artwork that are going to be in the Do It version of the game, right?
The artwork, sorry.
Yeah, so it's the artwork that's going to be in the published version of the game. So the artwork that we see here is the artwork that would be in the final version, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is the final artwork already.
Yeah. I can see some slight changes to the prototype that I got from Do It Games with replacing NATO symbols with figures for the counters, and it's really looking nice.
Yeah. Okay.
Great.
We have already the setup.
Yeah, so we have the setup. We're done with the setup. I'm going to regroup my technologies in a nice stack like this. And then that's it. We can start playing.
Yeah. Okay. There are a few special rules in the game, but we need some special rules, very easy to make the game more historically. Then one special rule is that the Germans has to make at least one attack in the Western Front in 1914.
Yeah.
This one of the few special rules. 1914, we have the special rules here. You will see the number one. Germany must attack at least one French or British army.
And this is just on the board. We can see it here under the turn track here.
I start German. I have 3 actions as German. Then one action, very important, and you have to do that action the first. If you do that action, is recruitment. If you do recruitment, has to be at the first action. To win the game, you need armies. Then my first action will be recruitment. All sides have 3 steps of recruitment, except Austria-Hungary that have only 2 steps. Then Germans, I have 3 steps. I put the 3 steps. I recruit in cities or in controlled areas beside the cities. Then I am going to do, my first action is recruitment. Then I'm going to recruit 2 steps here, 3 steps, sorry. Then 1 step is a reduced army, and a full army is 2 steps.
So for the people who are watching and are wondering, so a full army is this one, and a reduced army is the one with the white banner in the middle. So that's 2 steps for the full army and 1 step for the reduced army.
Correct. Then I decide to put 1 reduced army in East Prussia, Königsberg, and 1 full army, for example, here. Then my first action is already done. I still have 2 actions more.
I feel that I know what you're going to do, Victor. I have a sense. I can do a prediction.
Yeah, of course, Guns of August.
Yes.
Okay. The easiest place to attack in the front side is in Belgium. Then I'm going to do the attack. Then my second action will be activation of armies. The action of activation armies allow you to activate 3 armies. Activate can be only move, only attack, or move and attack. Then.
But if you move and attack, you have to move into an adjacent space, right?
Yeah. So if you do that, to attack has to be adjacent space. Then that army here, in essence, can attack the army in Belgium here because it's adjacent area. Then my first army move here, then move and attack. This is 1 activation of army. Because in that area, there are only enemy armies. When I enter with my armies here, at least 1 army has to attack.
Yes.
You will see the attack is army to army. In that case, there are only 1 defensive army. There are only 1 attacker, 1 defender. The other armies that move can support the attack. Then I have moved 1 army. I have activation for 3 armies. I activate that other 2 armies. Then I have made the activation of the 3 armies, but the attack is 1 against 1. Then 1 army attack, 1 German army, 1 French army, and the other armies support. You asked me if those was the last graphic design, but I don't think so. I think in the last design we have put the supporting factor of the armies. The supporting factor of the armies are always the same. When you have a full army, the supporting factor is 2, and we have a reduced army, the supporting factor is 1. It's always the same. Then it's not necessary to have that graphic, but some players prefer to have that. Then I think in the last design we have put that factor.
Okay, so just to be clear, if there is only 1 army to attack, you can only attack with 1 army, right?
The factors are very easy. Germans have a compact factor of 5, and the French army 4. And because I have more attacking armies in the area, more armies in the area than enemy armies, the armies that exceed the enemy armies in the zone, in that case are 2, because I have 3 against 1, that two armies can support the attack. That means my factors are 5 for the attacking army and +2 for any of the supporting armies. It's 5 +2 +2 is 9. And the French is only 4. It's 9 against 4.
If we were in that situation, your attacking factor would only be 7.
Yeah,
and mine...
then in that case, I could attack only. I only obliged to attack to one army. If I only want to attack one army, I attack one army. One army can support because I have 3 against 2, and that army cannot support because that army is in front of another army, enemy army. I don't need to attack that army, but it would be 7 against 4. That's true.
Okay, but you could decide to attack both of the armies. So you could have an attack
both or only one. But I obliged at least attack one because I have entered to one area where there is only enemy armies.
Yeah, and obviously 7 to 4 is better than 12 to 8, I guess. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to put it back. Sorry, I was cheating. But so that was your second activation, and that's triggering a fight. So you were saying that you have 5, 7, and 9, and I have a 4. But that's not it. We're going to roll a dice to see the differences in value, right?
Yeah. Then we roll the dice, no?
Yes. Let's see what you get. You get a 3. So 5, 7, 9, that gives you a 12. I have a 4 and a 4 plus 8. So that's 8 to 12.
Okay, Germans win, but don't double. Then when one win and don't double, who wins lose 1 step, and who lose 2 steps. You. Okay,
so in that case, if you had double the value that I did, I will lose 2 steps, and you will lose no steps. If you just have more than I do, I have to lose 2 and you have to lose 1. So in that case, an army has 2 steps. So I'm going to flip it to take 1 step loss, and then I'm going to return it to the pool for the second step loss, right?
Yeah, that's right. And I lose 1 step.
Okay.
I have I have finished my second action. I have one more action, one third action. I cannot entrench here in the area because to entrench I have to start in the area.
Victor, I think you might have forgotten something. Weren't we supposed to talk about technologies when we fight?
Yeah, because we have no any technology.
Okay, so the technologies are only going to be active for the next turn, right?
Even no. You will see now. We have no technology now. Then we have even the forest don't give an advantage in that case for the combat. Then the combat has been resolved. Properly. You will see that the forest is good when you have a trench. When you are entrenched in a forest, you have some advantage, but is not. But if you are not entrenched, you have not advantage. Then now I have a third action. Now we'll see more things afterwards. My third action is technology. Then. Because I told you that I cannot entrench here. And what I do with technology, I take one technology, I think it was that, the good one. Let me see, to be sure. No, to be sure that that technology is the correct technology I have got. Let me see. Yeah, this is correct. I put the technology here. Then now the technology, I have done the 2 actions one action for technology. It was in the step 1, now is step 2. But if I did that before the attack, I could not use that action, that technology, because when you put that is at the beginning of the next turn when you have the technology available.
Okay, but
only so after the next turn you do the action of technology.
So for technology to be active, it needs to be on the second box.
Yeah. No. Okay. No, to be active, it has to be the next turn that is in the second box.
Okay, yes, but that's what I mean. Like, as long as it's in box 1, it's not an active technology. You have to push it to the second box, and then at the following turn, it would become an active technology.
That's right.
Okay, so box 1 is just basically showing that the power in question is starting to develop it, And then
Yeah.
when you put it to turn 2, it makes it so that the following turn is going to develop. Okay, makes
That's right.
sense. So that's where your 3 actions. First action, you recruited. Second action, you attacked me, which was not a nice move, Victor. I think it was actually quite awful from you to do that. And then the third action was to move one of your technology that I don't know which one it is yet, from the step 1 to the step 2, meaning that during the next turn, that technology will become active. Good. So now it's back to me, and it's France turns to play, right?
Yeah, and
France and Great Britain.
you have also 3 actions.
I also have 3 actions.
Yeah.
That sounds great. Okay, I don't really like what's happening, and I don't like the and I don't like the idea of having so many German armies next to Paris. I think that Verdun is pretty well defended, Nancy pretty well defended, and then you could go through, next to Lyon, but I don't think that this is. I have mountains. I'm pretty well defended here, so I'm pretty happy. So I think I'm going to recruit, and you're telling me that I can recruit 3 steps.
Yeah.
So that means that if I wanted, where can I see my?
You recruit the French in your cities and the British in the ports. But there is an anchor.
Okay, I'm just looking for. Oh yeah. So if I look into this, okay, so I can put this in Paris, and then if I flip it, that's going to be 2 steps.
Mm-hmm.
And then my third step is going to be a reduced British army in Amiens, right?
Okay.
That makes sense. Oh, is it a good idea?
Yeah, you have recruit 3 steps is your first action. Yeah. Sure.
So that's my first action. Now I need to know, do I want to activate? I think the second thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to do a technology action also.
Yes.
I'm pretty happy with that idea. I will ask you to close your eyes so I can look at my technologies.
Yeah. I close my eyes. Yeah, don't worry.
And of course, in a real game, you could just sneak peek where you're.
Yeah, this is the problem with puzzle. You could put inside your starting point.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. There is also a peek option, so when you can only you can look at something, but that's I don't know how they do it, but I've seen some Vassal module developer doing this. So I put one to the other, and you know what? I'm not going to activate. I think that my next move is going to be a diplomatic action, and that's going to be move a diplomatic action on Italy, and I'm going to move Italy 2 steps up with 1 action.
Yeah, I think you have done a very good. It's good decision to start with the diplomacy, because we are going to see 2 seasons, 2 turns. It could seem that it's better to activate, to attack, but at the end of the game, you need to have to think in the long term. Yeah. And in the long term, it's very important to have Italy with you.
That's what I'm thinking, because I can see 4 armies that are here, and that's going to force you to commit some troops in the Alps to defend Innsbruck and Trieste, and avoid for me to pour down here.
We will show that. We will show that if we play 6 or 7 turns.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, but it's just to explain why I'm. Yeah,
it's very important for new players that they understand that it's very interesting for a complete game to have Italy very quick with you, because it forces to the Germans or to the Austrians put armies here. You have free reinforcement. It's very important. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good decision.
So that's my. Those are my 3 actions. Now, which is the next faction? Is it Russia?
It's Russia. Yeah. It's in. If you see it is in clock sense, you have the 4.
Okay, so back to Russia. So Russia, if I do a recruit, I also have 3 steps, but Russia, I only have 2 actions that I can do on a turn.
Correct.
I think that I know what I'm going to do. So I'm going to recruit with Russia. So let me look at the Russian tab. Yeah, Russia cannot recruit a lot. So I would have 3 steps, but there is only 1 counter available.
No, you have more than 1 counter available.
Oh, that's weird. I only have 1 in my window.
No, you have much more than 1 country available. Look at you see in the Russia box.
Oh yeah, there is a counter underneath it. So I have actually 6 on my panel. Okay, I understand. Okay. So I'm gonna do 1 here, and it's adjacent to Kiev, so I can put it here, right?
Of course, yes, correct. You control is next to Kiev, yeah.
And then I'm gonna put half of 1 next to Warsaw.
Okay.
Okay, so that's my first activation. Now I have a question, and maybe it can illustrate for supply. If I wanted to move that army here, Königsberg would be cut off from Berlin, right? But how does supply work in this game?
The work comes from your cities.
Okay.
Your own cities. Then the armies in Königsberg are supplied because they are
adjacent.
Königsberg, yeah. It's a source of supply, yeah.
Yeah, and if they were not, if they were cut off, for example, if that army was here, so it couldn't trace back to Königsberg because he's in occupied territory.
You have to have a line of supply. You need all the areas between your source of supply has been controlled by you. Then that army, that German army, would be out of supply, and immediately it would lose 1 step.
At the beginning of your turn.
No. When the first time it arrived to out of supply, at the end of the turn of that turn, but if imagine that is a Russian turn, and the Russian move and put the Germans out of supply, then at the end of the Russian turn, it lose 1 step.
Okay.
And at the end of the German turn, if there is even still out of supply, they lose the 2nd step, and the army is out.
Okay, but it doesn't mean that it wouldn't lose a step also at the end of the Austrian turn, only at the end of the
only
German.
Austrian. No, the turn of the side that has put the
army out of supply,
and then the our turn.
Okay, good. So those are going to be my 3 moves, and I'm going to do something. I'm going to do. So I'm tempted. So could I activate this unit and take control of Berlin, for example?
Yeah, this is the most strange thing of the game. It looks a little strange because how is possible that controls Berlin? Actually, that control means nothing because you are losing the control very quickly. You cannot keep that control. Then I don't want to put a special rule to avoid that because a player that plays well never are going to do that because when you will be out of supply very easy and you are going to lose your army without getting anything.
Yeah.
Because you only count the victory points at the end of the game. This is an abstract thing of that game that control, that move would mean nothing.
Yeah, it would mean just a general threat. Okay, but then, so that was my first activation.
It's the thing that looks very strange. Perhaps the thing that looks more strange in that game. That you can go to Berlin and the next turn we are going to move and you are going to be out of supply and you are going to lose your army. And you have lost 1 army and one action. A stupid decision. Huh?
So that means that, so my first action was to recruit 3 and my second action is going to do an attack. And I'm going to do an attack on Tarnopol. So I'm going to activate this army, and this army. And they are coming to, they are going to move and attack. So this one is going to move, and move. And if I count correctly, this one is at 3 + 2 + 2, right?
Yes.
So that's 7, and this one is at 3.
Yes, it's correct.
Good. So I will roll my dice to see what result do I get. So I'm at 7 + 5, so that's 12. and you have 3 plus 3, 6. So I have now twice more.
You have double.
Yeah. So I have double. That means 2 steps lost for you and no steps lost for me.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. It's like that. Yeah.
Great.
You have not Tarnopol.
And that would mean at the end of a game a victory point because I'm controlling one enemy city.
Yeah.
So one VP for me and -1 for you.
Yeah, that's right. It's like that.
Okay.
1 minus for me and 1 more for you at the end of the game only.
Yeah, at the end of the game. Fair enough.
Okay.
And
then
now
you have your 2 turns.
Yes, my 2 activations. So now it goes to
you had the possibility, looking at the history, to attack also to Königsberg, to East Prussia. You have decided not to attack here. Now some experienced players play this in a way that they attack sometimes to Prussia and in the second turn to Tarnopol, like it was historically. But you have taken that decision, is correct and perfect.
I'm pretty confident with my decision, Victor. I know you tried to play games with my mind, but I think it was the right move.
No, it's correct. No, because
I'm joking.
It depends a lot also about if you develop a technology or not in the first turn.
Yeah.
You have decided not develop a technology, and you have decided to recruit and to activate. Okay, then you have finished.
Yes. So now to Austria.
Okay. Austria. Austria is going to recruit also, but the Austrians are the only ones that only recruit 2 steps and not 3 like the other factions. Then I'm going to make recruitment, and only 2 steps I'm going to recruit in Lemberg. Look again. Then you in your next turn you can move to Cluj or even to Budapest. It would be very bad to you because you are very far away or your source of supply. Then you will be cut your supply very easily. And on the other hand, I am in my source of supply. In Lemberg I have supply. I have supply in all parts here.
But just maybe to explain, so how far can an army move?
Yeah, the movement is you have 4 points of movement. But when you move to an enemy controlled area, it costs 2 points of movement. For example, you could move from Tarnopol here and here. This is 4 points of movement. It's your maximum of movement.
Yeah.
Because this is enemy control areas. At the end of your turn, you will put the control to that areas. But because you only have the supply from your cities, like Kiev, it's very easy to you to lose your supply. It's very dangerous to go very inside the enemy country. You have to be do it very well. Then, if you move in your country, you can move 4 areas. For example, you can do that one area, 2 areas, 3 areas, 2 areas, 4 areas.
Yeah.
Because are controlled by you. Okay.
And then you have the strategic move, and that's 8 movement points.
All operational move cost you 1 activation point. You have activate 3 armies with 3 points of activation. But when you make a strategy movement, it costs you the movement of two armies.
Okay, so that would be, if I used 1 to do a strategic movement, that makes me move up to 8. That means that I can do 1 strategic movement and 1 normal activation.
Yes. Okay. And the operational movement has to be from
control to controlled.
To control, and all areas you pass in the middle, you have to be controlled also. Okay. But you have to start and finish to a control area too. Okay.
So that was your first activation with Austria. So you recruited 2 steps only for Austria, and you recruited in Lemberg, and now you have a second activation.
Yeah, I will, as second activation, I will put, for example, 1 technology also.
Big mistake, Victor. Big mistake. Good. And that's the end of the first turn.
Okay, the first turn is finished. Then we move to the second turn. You see that it's very quick, the game. because we are telling all the rules, but in a normal game, this lasts very few minutes.
Yeah, good.
Okay,
So now it's back to Germany.
Yeah, back to Germany, and is the second turn of 1914. I'm obliged to attack to the Western Front. Then, first action is for me is activation. I'm going to put one step here. The reduced army can be put to full armies in any space if you are in line of supply.
Yeah.
You don't need to be in a city or next to the city.
Then maybe just to explain one thing, you're not adding an army because you're not allowed to have more than 3 armies per space, right?
Yeah, of course. Maximum stack is 3 armies for space. Then, and the other army, I'm going to put the other 2 points. Let me think. I'm going to put to full army the reduced army in Königsberg, and this is my second step. And my third step will be to put a reduced army in Metz. This is my first action, is recruitment. Now, at the beginning, sorry, I haven't shown to you. The first thing I had to do is that the technology in the second box is already in use. I can use already. Then I take out of here, from here, I put in the developments, in the developments box. Sorry, I don't, no.
I think you can right click and flip, right?
Sorry, I'm going to put that now. I put here, I flip, I have offensive. This is a change from the first version of the game. You asked me before what are the difference? Where are some technologies? Offensive allows you to make once a year one free activation action. You will see now.
Okay, but that means, and you're not putting the technology on the board?
No. I put if you look at in Basel, you have
so we have
menu. You have developments in the menu.
Yeah.
In the upper side, if you look at inside developments, you open, you will see my technologies already developed.
Okay, so for the people who are watching this live, I'm just gonna drag and drop it on the board because they cannot see they can see only one window. So this is the technology that you just revealed. So the one called offensive, and this, as at the beginning of your turn, if it was in box 2, you are revealing it to your opponent, right?
Yes.
Or you're revealing it the first time that you're using it.
No. You don't know. At the beginning, look at that. At the beginning of the game, I would do that. I will put here in developments. This is already for me. I can use that, but I don't need to show. But
okay.
I don't need to show. The first thing I do, this is not an action, is because I have that here, is free to put here. Is the first thing I do in my turn. Let's see afterwards what happens. The first thing was that I have done one action. Sometimes I use markers to show what actions have been done. For example, look.
So you've done.
Sometimes I do that. I have one action here. The action is recruitment. Let's see. Now I'm going to use my technology. My technology now, because I'm going to use, I flip the technology, is offensive. I was telling you before, offensive allows me to have a free activation action once per year, because we are in 1914. I still haven't used. I can use that action now for free because it's technology. Then, because I'm going to use that, I can put a mark here to show that
it has been used. Yeah,
that has been used, but I don't know why. No, cannot be put.
No, just put it on. Oh yeah, you put a lot underneath it. Yeah.
Sorry. I put it besides. I put here beside.
Good.
Then, now the only obligation when I use that technology, I have to make an offensive in the Western Front. In that game, and now I make to give an explanation. Germans tend to make very few offensive in the western front, because was better for them keep in defense there and attack very hard to the Russians. Then I changed a little that. I improved the game, making that technology. That technology is very good, but you are obliged to attack at least one army in the western side. Then with that very easy technology, you make the game works more historically. Then this explanation in the first year is very interesting because you have to attack already by obligation. Then you use that offensive to attack there. Then I am going to make the free activation. And the free activation is activate also 3 armies, and the 3 armies will be, one will be here, attacking that army. The second army are going to attack that one. Okay?
Yeah.
And the third army, look at that, is going to do that. Move from here to here is 1 movement point because it's controlled by me, that point. This is 2 movement points more because it's not controlled by me, Brussels, at that moment. And the 4th movement point is go back to that point. I have not put a marker here because I am alone, but I can mark. Very easy. If I mark, perhaps the beginners can see very more easily what I have done is 4 movement points, 1 to the forest, 2nd to Brussels, 2nd and 3rd to Brussels, and 4th come back to the forest.
Okay.
To keep the forest for me is very important because it's the line of supply to Amiens for me goes in the forest, by the forest. Then,
okay. And does Brussels become a supply city for you or not at all?
Yeah, at the end of the turn.
Okay.
We can put before here. This I know that I'm going to control that, but this actually is at the end of the turn. If I wanted to move another army in a 4 direction, that would be still 2 points of movement. Because it's at the end of the turn when I have the complete control of that. Okay?
Okay.
Then I have activated 3 armies. I have finished my activation, but I have to make the attacks. Then, as you see, because you have not put reinforcements, not put a trench in Amiens, I have made a race to the sea, as historically. Let's see what happens with the combats. Okay, now the combats are 5-4 and 5-3.
Ah, so it's 2 separate combats. Okay.
2 separate combats, yeah, because I have decided to attack both. I could decide attack only one, but I have decided attack both. And when I enter to an area with enemy armies, I have to attack first to the full armies before than to the reduced armies. I could not decide I only attack to the reduced army. No, I have to attack first to the full armies.
Okay.
Okay, then attack 5-4, 5, I think 5.
10 for you and 10 for me, so that's a draw.
A draw. Then if a draw, everyone lose 1 step.
Okay.
And now the second attack is 5-3.
So that's
disaster.
7 for you and
disaster.
9 for me.
Yes. Complete disaster. You win, but you don't double. You lose 1 step. I lose 2 steps.
Okay, so it goes to the pool. Nice.
If the normal thing is that I won the second attack, I would be very, very well in Amiens defensively. Now I am very weak. You will see, no?
And do you have to retreat after losing the battle?
Yeah, if you are the defender. If you are the attacker, no.
Okay. But I still control Amiens. It's not contested.
No. You have lost. You have a draw. If you have lost, you have no, because you lose. You have no step. You don't need to retreat. You only have to retreat when you lose and you have an trench. Because when you have a trench, you can have one of the casualties from the trench.
Oh yeah.
You keep 1 step, and then that step have to retreat if you are the defender, except if you are in a forest in a mountain or in a desert.
And actually,
terrain, different plain reserve, the plain terrain this is the advantage to be in a terrain. That when you lose one step, I lose the combat, but one step is from trench, you still keep the place because you can keep in the place.
Okay, and you, the attacker, you stay in the place.
Yeah, because I'm the attacker, yeah.
Okay, yeah. And there is one thing that I wanted to ask you. If one of my technology that I had developed was defense, should I show it to you now? Victor.
Yeah, but you, if you had the defense, if you had before that, if you had that, the attack would be, I would be 5 at the beginning, my combat factor, you would be 4 plus 1 because you have more defense than I have attack.
Okay, so actually I also won that fight.
You make the comparison of the attack technology of the attacker against the defense technology of the defender. Yeah. Who has more has 1 plus 1 in the combat.
Okay, so actually I had defense in box 2.
But you don't have available because you will have that available at the beginning of your turn.
Of my own turn. Okay, yeah. So it's not available yet. Okay, good. No. Good.
It has been a little disaster for me, but don't worry. Then my second, look at that. My second action, I could do a lot of things. For example, you only can do one action of each type per turn except activation. I cannot recruit 2 times, for example.
Yeah.
I cannot do 2 technologies actions. I can do 2 activation actions, but not other action.
So, but then, just maybe, Victor, could you get 3 activations per turn, knowing that you have a free one? Can you get even up to 4, or is it limited to 2?
No. Even you could do. If I use offensive, I could do my 3 actions as activation and my offensive activation 2.
As a 4th one, okay.
Even 4. It's not. There is no limit for activation, but normally it's not a very good idea. You have to think in the future, develop a lot, make recruitments, entrench technology, and the other actions you only could do one per turn.
Okay.
I cannot recruit anymore. I have done already. Now we still have 2 actions because that offensive action was free. My second action, I will going to mark my second action, will be, for example, another technology. Important for the beginners, understand that the developed technologies are very important because in the future you will be more powerful if you have more technologies. And my third action, I have some doubts. I could, for example, I could put an entrench here in the forest, but I'm going to decide to do diplomacy. Diplomacy. I have 2 ideas. Put Turkey up, like that, or my other action could be put Italy down. I'm going to put Italy down.
So when Italy you put down by 1, yeah.
It's only 1 by 1. It's like that. Then it's interesting do once, but the second time, it's not interesting because you are going to arrive the same actions, in the same number of actions.
So to sum up,
that has been my 3rd actions of the German.
So to sum up, you recruited, you did your free activation because of your offensive technology, then you did a technology development from 1 to 2, and then you did a diplomatic action. Yeah. So when you're doing technology, for now, you've only taken technology from box 1 to box 2, but you could also take a new technology and bring it to box 1. That's also another thing that you can do with technology, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But you have to take out the first technology because you have available the first technology you were there at the beginning of the turn.
Yeah, but do you have to develop those 3 before bringing new ones, or can you bring new ones?
No. Yeah, okay. You can put another different before if you want.
Okay, so now it's back to me, and it's back to France and Great Britain, and I have my 3 activations. So the question here is, now that this is contested, can I still recruit an army in Amiens?
Yeah, because you control Amiens still.
Yeah, good. I'm happy with that then. So what I will do is I will recruit in Amiens. I think I will flip this one. So that's going to be one step. And then I'm going to bring a French army in Paris, and that's 3 steps. So that's my first action. My second action is going to be to activate, and I cannot move from here to here, right?
No, you cannot. When from an area with enemy armies, you can only go to control
yeah
area for you.
Okay,
yeah.
Good. I'm going to take a bit of a risk, and I'm going to activate this army to move 1, 2, 3. Oh, but it cannot support if it does that, right?
No, cannot support. You have to support. You have to be in the same area or next to that area.
Okay, so he's actually gonna stop in Paris, and he's gonna move here. So first army moves from here to here, second army moves from here to here, and the third one is moving from Nancy to reinforce Paris. So those are my 3 activation, and that means that I'm triggering a fight here.
Okay. Okay. But look at that. You could do a better thing. For example, you don't need to move that 2. You can put that here, and you can activate the British. And you have the same combat, 4 and plus 2, 6.
Oh, yes, I didn't activate the... okay, yeah, I forgot. Yeah, because I need to activate them to trigger the fight. Yeah.
Yeah, this is better because see, if you put only one army in Nancy, perhaps I'm going to attack Nancy. And in the areas in the border are more easy to attack and to defend. To defend. For me, to attack Paris is not... can be easy, but it's very difficult to keep Paris because I have to open more my lines, you know?
Yeah,
I have longer lines and it's difficult. Then it's more important to have armies in Nancy than in Paris, actually.
So then I'm going to do this because that will be 3 activations. So activating him and activating those 2. So I'm fighting at 4 plus 2 plus 2, 8 against 3.
You know that at least you have a draw, at least.
Yes. I'm pretty confident that I'm going to win this one.
Yeah.
And I rolled a 5, so I know that you're...
I don't need to draw because I to...
Just to see if I make double.
Yeah.
Because
no, look at that. Look at that. Even you don't have double because I have 9 and you have 4, 6, 8, 13. You don't double, but I have only 1 step because I have lost. I have only 1 step. I lose that step and you don't lose any one.
Ah, okay. You need to be able to give me a step loss.
You lose. Okay. You lose 1 when I lose 2, but because I have only 1, you lose nothing. Okay. Then you win, and it's like that.
Okay, great. So that was my second activation, and I cannot activate armies that have already been activated.
Of course, no.
So now what I could do, I could activate from Nancy and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that wouldn't work. So I would have to move from Verdun to do 1, 2, and then 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. But that would leave, so 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah,
and that would, that would delete that. Yeah. Good. So that's that. And then, and that was, but if I do this, that burns my whole activation.
I think that's why I don't think it's a very good idea.
Yeah, it's not a very good idea. So I think instead...
You are going to recover Brussels in the future. If you do that, you are losing very strength in Verdun. I can attack Verdun very easily because to attack Verdun, I have to longer my lines. I have to, with the same spaces to control and to defend, I can attack to Verdun, no? From Metz. Yeah. Then I think it would be a bad decision to do that.
But then I think that what I'm going to do instead is play diplomacy, and I'm going to increase Italy 2 steps up.
Yeah.
And now it's back to Russia.
Yeah. No, you have done 3 things. For the beginners, this is a good decision. I have an advantage because I control Brussels. The advantage that I have, I have to put another special rule that if you control the German control Brussels, have one step more in the recruitment of the winter turns. That special rule that is not necessary for the game, but I thought was better because the Germans are tend more to make the historically attacks to Brussels and Amiens, to get that Germans tend to do that. I put that rule that is similar rule that the rule of Path of Glory.
Yeah.
In Path of Glory, you have a similar rule to get the same thing.
Okay. So now it's back to the Russians.
Yeah.
And the Russians, the first action that I'm going to do is do a recruit action. And that city is mine now, right?
Yeah. But you cannot recruit here because it's not next to one of your cities.
Yeah, sure. It's just for me
to... part of that, you have already 3 armies. But that city is yours. You can mark if you want, because you are alone. You don't need you put yourself put the other. Okay.
So I'm going to recruit 1 here, and then my third step is going to be this.
Okay.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm going to do. I can also do diplomatic. Yes, I can do diplomatic actions with Russia on Romania and Italy. Yeah.
Or with Italy, yeah.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to do an activation. Just to give, so I'm going to do activate this army, and this army. So this one is going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. This one is going to do 1, 2, 3. And this one is going to do 1.
Okay. Then you have finished already.
Yes, I'm done. That was my 2 activations.
Okay. Okay. Then it's Austria-Hungary. Then is what we're talking about, no?
Yeah.
You have got that city Klug, but it's difficult to keep that city.
Yeah.
Because we are now playing only that 2 turns. It's difficult to explain what can happen, but I try to do just now already. I'm trying to put your army out of supply, but it's very difficult. You will see, because the first thing I have the first thing I do, I have the technology. I have already technology. Let me see which one is technology. I don't remember.
Maneuver. Okay.
Maneuver, but I don't want to do that one, but I don't mind.
So just to explain, maneuver is when you do an activation, you can activate a 4th army, not only 3, right?
Still 3, yeah. Maneuver at the beginning, the first version of the game, the 4 factions had maneuver. Now maneuver is only for French, British, and Austria-Hungary. Okay. And the maneuver of Russians and Germany was substituted by offensive. But the maneuver allows you activate 4 armies. It looks that it is not very much from 3 to 4, but finally it's very interesting, because at the end of the game you look at you do a lot of activations actions, and that means that you have a lot of armies that you activate, and a part of that, sometimes if you move 4 armies, you can do a good movement, and with 3 armies, sometimes it's not enough to do a good movement. You understand?
Yeah.
That is important, but it's not important for Austrians now, but I forgot to do another thing. I had done a mistake. Don't worry. But I still have 2 actions. This is free. This I have for free now. Then my first actions. My first action will be recruitment. Okay?
Yeah.
Then I am going to recruit, for example, here. Let me see. Austria, here. I can recruit here because it's together next to one
next
of my
to Budapest. Yeah.
to Budapest. Yeah. Then I'm going to move, and my second action will be to move, and I'm going to try to attack that Russian here and put out of supply the army in Krug.
Yeah.
But it's not easy because I have only one army to attack. But I'm going to move that second here. I can go inside because there is one army inside that is attacking. That second army cannot support because was not next. But even that move here. And I have more movement. Let me see more movement. Let me see more movement. Actually, I don't have very good movements to do now. Don't have very good movements to do. Let me think. To here. Okay, I'm going to move that too.
Okay, so
it
means
less. Imagine it's not perhaps a good decision, but it's to show to people.
Yeah, and that's the idea. So just to explain, this one came from here to here, so they can attack each other.
In another game, perhaps I don't attack now to that one. I will attack afterward when I was more prepared for that.
But this one cannot attack because it did a move that was not adjacent from it, so it's not supporting. So it's a pure 3-on-3. Yeah.
And I can activate now. I could activate 4 armies, but I only activate 2. Okay. No, but I'm going to do another activation. Look at that. 1 and come back here. 3 and come back. That means that that area is from me at the end. Have you seen? I have moved from here to here.
Okay, so you move here and then back here.
Come back. Okay. Yeah, that kind of movements are interesting sometimes, mainly in Russia, because when you control that point, the enemy cannot recruit there, cannot retreat there, and move there cost 2 points of movement. And to not be surrounded, sometimes that or not be attacked, sometimes that kind of movements are interesting. For example,
just to be clear, Serbia is active for me, or it's just
yes. Look at the city is blue.
Yeah.
That means is the city of the faction of French-British actions that are blue cities.
And how can I activate
from the beginning of the game? Yeah, I could in the next turn, for example. You will see. I will tell you after my turn.
But just to know, so if I wanted to move those Serbian units, can I move them on the Russian turn or the French and British turn?
No,
or
French-British turn.
Okay.
Why? Because
the color match. Yeah.
If you look at the rules, they say that the French-British, the Serbians go with the French-British, but it's easy to remember because you are the blue color in the city.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Like Italy. And if you look at Romania,
yeah, it's the Russians.
It's moved by Russians. Okay. Then I have done my 2 actions: is recruit activation, and I have an attack. Look at that attack. I have only 3. You have also 3, but the mountain is the only terrain that gives a +1 to the defender.
Okay.
Then actually, my attack is very bad. It's 3 against 4. Because I am very brave, I am confident in my army.
Good for you.
Let's see.
And you rolled a 5, so you were right. So it's an 8. So I need to roll a 4, and I rolled a 4. So it's a draw. We each take a step loss.
Yeah. And because now remember that you were the last that were alone in that area. That area is controlled by you. You can mark that area as yours.
Oh yeah, so I could put a marker and place it here.
Because you were the last faction that were alone in that area. Look, because you control that area, you have land of supply with the army of Klag.
But the thing that I'm wondering, so if I get supply from city I control, could Clar supply that unit anyway?
No, imagine that you lost. If you lost that
That
combat,
unit, yeah.
that would be mine, and that army would be out of supply.
Okay.
If you had lost, then what would happen? You, because you are out of supply, because you have no line of supply to your cities. Before you go to Kiev or Odessa, Romania is still neutral. Your line of supply go by that area of the combat. Then, because you have no line of supply, you automatically at the end of
Take
my
a
turn,
step loss. Yeah.
you take a step loss. And in your turn, if you don't get back the supply, you lose the army.
Okay.
Okay, but that is not the case, because the case is that was a draw. You have the control of that area, then you have a line of supply by that area.
Great.
Okay, then I have done. I didn't got my expectations, but was what happened. Then we have finished the second turn.
Okay.
Now, imagine what could happen in the third turn. In the third turn, okay, I don't need to attack in the western side. Perhaps I'm going to be defensive in the western side already. Perhaps I am going to entrench in Belgium. I don't know. Then, from 1915, if you look at the game turn track, Germany can give armies to the Austria-Hungary.
Yeah.
Then perhaps I would have some movement to give my army of Breslau to the, for example, here. I could do 1, 2, 3. If I put that army in my third turn here, or even here, no, here, third. That means that from that moment, that army is controlled by the Austrians. Austrians in their turn move that army. That army keeps the power of the German army. Not only the combat factor, also the attack and defense technologies of the Germans. And when if the army is reduced, to put the army to full is also in the German turn with the reinforcements. I explained that in the last the last section of the rules, that is the coordination of Germans and Austrians. It's very easy rules, and it work quite well. Perhaps I would do that in the next turn. Perhaps in the next turn, Austrians can, for example, attack to Serbians. I don't know. If they attack to Serbians, I could attack from here and from here. And imagine that attack. If I win, imagine that I win, the Serbians could say, okay, I lose 2 steps. One step is from the army. The second step is from the trench.
Yeah.
And then I have to retreat because I am not in terrain. I'm in plain terrain. Then I have to retreat here. If that was not controlled, that area was not controlled by the Austrians, I could retreat here. Because this area is Austria, I have to retreat here. And it's important because from here, I can move like that and put out of control to the Austrians. And from here, it's impossible. I do 2, 4. I still have supply by here.
Yeah.
Then that's why sometimes to make that movements of control are important. Then now the victory points at the end of the game, because the track of victory points is prepared for a complete game. Then you cannot do only 2 turns and count the victory points, because
that was one of the questions I had for you. You don't have shorter scenario. You play the full game or nothing, right?
No, yes, but for example, precisely Artur from Do It asked me for shorter scenario, and I can do. Perhaps I am going to do in the next weeks a very short scenario that is precisely only that 2 turns.
Okay.
That the starting victory points will be very similar for all the countries, and you have to try to win only one or don't lose any victory point, any city, But if you do a scenario of only 2 turns, diplomacy is not important. You only need to attack mainly.
That would change the
change the kind
the activation
of
dynamic. Yeah.
You will tend to recruit and activate only.
But maybe you could have that specific rule for the short scenario that if Italy is at 4, you get 1 VP for the British or something like this.
I have to think in that to understand the scenario. You are true.
But that was great. But thanks for explaining the game and showing it to us. So that was fun. Thank you very much, Victor. And as you said, so the Vassal module is available. The rules are available. So if people want to try it and play it, they can do that. And this game and Downfall of the Third Reich is going to be available in the crowdfunding campaign. And I would add the link in the description if people want to check it out. Great. Thank you very much, Victor.
Thank you, Fred. Bye.